Yes.
Oh,
So we're not going to let you see it on TikTok. I don't have that stuff. All right, we're back live at 5:30, and we have draft 1.1 of S100. It is a strike all amendment from General and Housing. David, can you join us, please? There you go. So what page are we starting on for you, David, for our stuff? Page, section 27, I believe, was the first, or maybe even before that.
Page 34.
Yeah, so let me just, David Hall, Legislative Council, this is S100. I just want to tell everybody what you've got in front of you on the screen. Is the screen still sharing? Good.
Yes, can you increase the view by 25%?
Yeah.
That's good, thanks.
Under 14.
So we've got to strike all committee amendments to the Senate version. So everything disappears and we repopulate it. The first half is the language as it passed the Senate, right? So just want to make sure there's no confusion in the universe. All of the land use, such and such, so we get to the mid-20s. These are all Ellen's sections that are as they passed the Senate. And then for the changes that I've made for this document, I have highlighted them in yellow, you know, relative to how they came over. So the first change here on page 36 of 62, this is in the Energy Code Compliance Study Committee, and the changes in subsection C, just to clarify that we're talking about the potential designation of DFS as statewide authority, so it's not a foregone conclusion. Everybody with that?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna move ahead beyond. We do have the Human Rights Commission position in section 27. So this is not highlighted because it is it's unchanged from how it came out of Senate Economic Development. So all of these pieces that are added back, but you know, remember they were removed in Senate appropriations because of the funding. You're adding them back, and my highlights reflect if something has changed on the House side relative to what it was on the Senate side. So this adds back the Human Rights Commission's position in the $150,000 appropriation.
Okay. Representative Parsons?
Just a clarification, I was, for that 150,000, is that what passed the Senate?
No, this did not pass the Senate. This came out of Senate Economic Development. Senate
Okay.
Appropriations removed it.
Okay, I thought you had said that it's not highlighted because it isn't a change from the Senate.
It isn't. So for the rest of this document, for the stuff that was stripped out, basically, I was trying to make clear, obviously I didn't, but what I wanted to make clear is that the highlights reflect changes that you have made to prior Senate language.
So not what passed the Senate, but like in one of the committees, their language.
Right, exactly.
But not what passed the Senate.
Yep, not necessarily what passed the Senate in its official version, but rather, you know, what the Senate Economic Development language said when it was introduced.
Okay, so it is a change from what was passed then.
It is a change from what was passed the Senate, and
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Probably.
So Section 30, the eviction rescue fund, housing risk mitigation piece, I added some broadening language here. So it would be to provide eviction rescue funding and programming for the benefit of tenants and landlords, including for rental arrears to prevent eviction for non-payment of rent if such funding will preserve a tenancy. Funding. Everybody okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So on the mobile home section, I inverted the subsection arrangement here to do the study first and then the appropriations section. And that's just to avoid having to redesignate all of the study subsections. So the change here is that you're replacing the Senate study language with what you passed in H213. So this is your study language. So that's the A through G swap. And then H, this was Senate subsection A. I've moved it to the end and kept the money as you requested. Is that okay?
Thank you. Yes.
All right. First generation home buyer, we've increased the value from 1 million to 2 million. Okay, middle income, that's still 20 million. Revolving loan program. And its appropriation the same. So a few changes here in VHIP. I added the weatherization and accessibility improvements. A landlord shall not offer a unit created through the program as a short-term rental for the period a grant or loan agreement is in effect. So B here, if a unit is occupied, a grant or forgivable loan agreement shall include terms that prohibit permanent involuntary displacement of the current residents, that provide for the temporary relocation of the current residents if necessary to perform the rehabilitation, and that ensure the landlord complies with the affordability requirements of the program following the rehabilitation. Does that look right?
Yes. Thank you for
Okay.
splitting it out like that.
Yep.
Wait, I'm sorry, what page is that?
55 and 56.
Bottom of 55. Oh, you're,
I'm in a different version.
hold on a second, David.
Okay.
Got the printer. I'll be right back. Huh.
You have to go into our committee, you know, where Thursdays?
Hit refresh.
Yeah, because I had the same problem. I had 58 pages.
Yeah, go back to our legislative page.
Okay.
Should
Right
say
there.
draft 1.1.
The one that was sent over Outlook is different, is formatting differently, so.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah,
Keep going.
the email one is
It says draft.
different.
1.1.
Fine.
Remember, I sent you the pre-editing version just for you to be able to see it, and then I sent you the post-edited version. So I
I
don't
only
know.
received one, dude.
What's that?
I only received one.
Right, the one that's posted on our page is David's using.
Yeah, that's the one that you have, Ron, is the edited version.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask you, did you want to add accessibility here as well, or is it sufficient to just have it above?
I think it's sufficient to have it above because it's in that same category again that we've talked about where it's a, I mean, this is a suggestion, a project may include. I'm comfortable with where it is.
Okay.
What page was that, David?
57.
57.
Okay.
Line 7. Elizabeth, what do you think it needs to be there also, or do you think it needs to be?
I think it's fine,
Thank you, sir.
but yeah, I do, but as long as it's in there somewhere. What do you think, Sylvia?
As long as it's in there. As long as it translates in a way that makes sense, whatever.
Yeah. Oh,
So in 41, you still have the 20 million for VHIP. 42, you've gone from 25 to 50 for VHCD.
41's 20. Yep.
I removed the auditor section and
What section was that?
43.
43, thank you.
So that's it.
David, I have a question on page 55. And I hate to even ask questions at this point, but line 4, 3 and 4. Forgivable loans for private landlords for the rehabilitation, including weatherization and accessibility improvements. That could be read that the rehabilitation has to include weatherization and accessibility. Right? And that's not our intent. It could include weatherization and accessibility.
I think if you just change the and to or. Did you
So
say and?
you know, including is
Yeah, I think you said
non-exhaustive.
and. I was like, I don't know where that is.
Okay, hold on a second. What's that? David?
And.
Including is what?
Including is non-exhaustive. It's examples of things that, you know, may be there. It could include other things as well. Remember that the early on version of this language, the proposal was that it shall include a weatherization component. And then that was changed to may below. And this piece here was added just to, you know, signal to the world, we want people to know that you can do weatherization with this money, but you don't have to. So the intent and the way that the section of law is structured was actually intentional to avoid a weatherization requirement. And that's why it says below that it may include weatherization. And that's why it says here rehabilitation, you know, which including but not limited to, but it doesn't have to have a weatherization component, nor does it have to have an accessibility component.
Right.
Like, just like anything else, I mean, not all projects will require wiring, not all projects will require heating. But, you know, the real purpose was to signal that you can use this money for weatherization, and it should be the same for accessibility.
Would it not say including but not limited to, or They, or no?
No, the reason it doesn't is because the word including is actually defined in our statutes already to mean including but not limited to. So this is just sort of a definitional shorthand for the same purpose.
Okay, and so, and it'll be clear when people apply for it that they can do the accessibility without having to do weatherization. That will be clear to folks.
I think so. It's again, it's just one of the things that you're allowed to do. I mean, you know, you can
'Cause it's
get,
stated
you can, this
differently.
could be a really long list, right? This could
Okay,
be,
no worries.
you know,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's not the only place that it's stated, and it's not stated that way elsewhere.
Any further questions for David?
Not for me.
No,
Are we voting on the whole, all the sections?
Yes.
Okay, I thought we were voting on, I thought we were gonna be doing just our section. I didn't realize we were gonna be voting on
We're voting on,
the entirety of the bill.
we've completed our work on our section of the bill. Now we're voting this to get it out of our committee and then get it over to the next committee.
Okay, I thought that when we had tied ourselves to the housing portion, that meant we were gonna be voting on the housing portion. I didn't realize that I would be voting on the whole first section as well, that I haven't heard any testimony on. I thought we were gonna segment out our section and vote on that.
No, process says that we need to vote the whole bill out in order to move it.
Okay, I don't feel comfortable voting on the first section of it. I'd be happy to vote on the second one. I thought we were gonna section it out.
That's,
so I think, I mean, the way I'm viewing it is that we're voting, I mean, I feel like we kind of just did our vote on our work here.
Yeah.
And our vote will be to move the bill to environment. That's my take on it, but
well, I mean, that's the practical reason. We were voting on this, so this will appear, I'll turn this in tonight and this will appear on the notice calendar. And then on Tuesday, I will ask that it be moved to the environment, the Energy and Environment Committee.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I thought we were just gonna be doing that. I feel like when I vote on this, I will be voting on the entirety of the bill. So I'm just uncomfortable with that.
I hate to sound like a broken record. Where do we stand on a joint committee hearing?
I will be having a meeting with the speaker and with Amy Sheldon tomorrow and others to nail down. We have proposed Wednesday morning.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday
Of
or
next
Thursday.
week.
Of next week, yeah.
Okay. The 19th or 20th.
I have a lot of thoughts regarding this entire process, or in my mind, the lack of a process. I'm really disappointed that I'm happy we'll be having a joint hearing. I'm disappointed that it's going to be happening after our vote tonight. Like Joe, I feel incredibly uncomfortable voting on this bill in its entirety because we didn't work on half of the bill. I think it's inappropriate. I think we were talking yesterday about not being able to hear testimony on Representative Elder's amendment. You're asking me to vote on this whole bill without hearing testimony on half of it, which to me is the same thing. I don't get it. I fundamentally do not get it. I think this has been incredibly disingenuous, and I'm so frustrated because the bill or the portions that we've worked on, the programs that we've worked on, I wholeheartedly support. They are great programs. And we've worked so hard hearing testimonies, learning about what each one of these programs does. And we do need to support them and make sure that they have the proper funding so that they can thrive. But they are not going to be sustainable if we don't have the land to put them on, which there comes the land use. And it's something that's absolutely in our jurisdiction, whether it's written anywhere or not, that we can or cannot talk about it. And going so far as Commissioner Hanford said, you cannot build housing in the clouds. You can't. We have to put these houses somewhere. And I think we are doing a disservice to this bill, to our own constituents, to all Vermonters, to not have a holistic approach in this committee, because as we've said, we are the ones who know housing best. I'm just so incredibly just frustrated with this whole process. And I like I said, it should not be a shock. I will not be supporting the bill today. Not because I don't support the content. It's great content. My fear is I'm being told from external sources, internal sources, both sides of the aisle, that Act 250 is going to be stripped in its entirety in environment and energy. And I hope that's not the case. I hope I am proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. But I think it's asinine that we are being asked to vote on a bill in its entirety when we haven't heard testimony and we haven't discussed half of the bill and half of the content. I think it's wrong.
Representative James.
I guess I just wanted to reflect a little bit on the process, and I hear you, Rep. Bartley. I know you and I talked, in the cafeteria about this morning. When I think about, what you just said, and I know I said yesterday that I'm obviously more accustomed, I guess, to the concept of committee jurisdiction, just because I've been around a little bit longer. And so I'm much more comfortable with the thought that, bills move through different committees where different parts get looks. But if you think about it, I guess in the other way, we spent weeks working on a paid family and medical leave bill that was in our area of expertise and developed all the policy around it. And then it went from here to Ways and Means, where they tinkered a little bit with the policy, but mostly worked on the area that was in their committee jurisdiction and area of expertise, which had to do with like funding. Mm-hmm. And then it moves from there to approps, and they mostly just look at what money the bill needs. And so it's common here, I guess, for bills to move from committee to committee and have different committees work on the parts that they work on. And I'm sorry that you've heard that the Act 250 stuff is all going to get stripped out in the Energy and Environment Committee. I know you and I talked about that this morning. It's more than half of the bill move into a committee that's kind of more in their wheelhouse. But I'm just thinking about it from the opposite point of view. We move bills out of here all the time that go to Ways and Means and then on to approps, so that they can work on the sections of the bill that are specific to their expertise. It happens that way every day around here, and it's not nefarious. It doesn't mean there's something wrong. It means that bills are moving through committees. And I guess I'm sorry that part of the conversation has become so such a big part of our conversation here, because I feel like we've got a great bill and we've done great work on all parts of it. And I don't know.
Can I just respond to that? I absolutely appreciate your input, Representative James. And I agree. I think the work we've done has been phenomenal. I wish I could support this bill. And obviously I won't be, but using H66, we were able to talk about every single aspect of the bill. My comfort or my comfort level and my concern is I am not about to put my name on a bill without having the opportunity to discuss all aspects of that bill. And we did a walkthrough, but we were told we cannot discuss it. And that is wrong. And additionally, I've said it and we will have to agree to disagree, but you cannot build a house, you cannot talk about housing without talking about land use permitting and zoning and Act 250. So once again, I fundamentally believe that that conversation should have started in this committee while talking about housing.
Representative Elder.
First, I do just want to mention, because I think it's an important point. We hear that like money committees can't change policy, right? But when we did H66, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we took a lot of time to go carefully through that bill. And to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure the only thing we did was remove what I think was section 27, which was the exemption for people making less than $25,000. And we elected to not send them a refund. And Ways and Means undid that work. So just for the record, the one policy thing we did to the FMLI bill was undone by the Money Committee. So these rules don't get held to a standard. They also did some other policy work that we thought about that they kind of wound up doing for us, which was to go down to the 90% level, and which I support. But these rules are very fungible to the moment. It seems to me. I've been in the legislature. This is my 5th year. I came in with Representative James. I've never seen a process as bad as this. This is the worst process I've ever seen. I expressed that I wanted to put back Senator Ron Hinsdale, some of her portions like 6 weeks ago, and was never told that I couldn't do it until last week. So that means that we had this bill and we had, how long have we spent on it? I mean, not that long. We've kind of reviewed it. We've heard about it. We haven't talked about it much. I'm happy with the portions we put back in because I think they did good work in the Senate. I thought Wendy Harrison presented it well. I would have liked to talk about it a little bit more, but the hurry up and wait on this bill for the Housing Committee is unbelievable to me. It's like we really haven't gotten the time. I just feel like the process is always challenging in this building. This is the most rushed, incomplete process I've seen on a caucus priority in my time here.
Representative Burrows and then Labor.
I don't understand what you're talking about. I really don't, because we did not get this bill until last Wednesday. And the thing that is really disappointing about the bill is that the parts that pertain to our committee were all stripped from the bill. It's not really a housing bill. It's really a zoning bill. And we've had a week to consider, we've had a week to consider it. And we couldn't look at it before that because it hadn't come out of the Senate. We didn't know what was going to be in it and what wasn't going to be in it. In fact, the bill that was presented by the senators was not the bill that we really got. And I understand your reason your rationale for not voting in favor of this bill, but you're going to sink this bill and you're going to leave a lot of people with nothing because you don't like omnibus bills. And I plan to, it doesn't matter what I think about the first part of the bill. I think we'd be helping a lot of people get out of a tremendous jam. We can look at 5 years down the road. We need to look at 5 years and 10 years down the road, but we need to help people who are about to be really screwed. They're going to be screwed anyway. We have also heard over and over again, they're going to be screwed anyway. All of these different things end in June. They end at the end of the year. And I plan to set my ego aside and help the people that I was voted to try to help.
Representative Parsons? I'm sorry, Labor and then Parsons.
Thank you. When I announced that I was going to go down to the printer, I did that for purpose. I printed, because I can't keep up with this because I'm down to 3%. I guess my constituent sent me here looking for assistance with changing Act 250 or improving Act 250. It's like I said yesterday, Act 250 is 4 decades old. It needs improvement to keep up with the times. I think we need to spend the appropriate amount of time to let our constituents know that we worked hard on this bill. If we only work hard on half the bill, then we've only done half our job. That's all I'll say. I can't support it until I go home and read through this. I couldn't keep up with him on the board. That wasn't letting me do it.
Representative Parsons.
Thank you, Chair. I don't feel like I'm trying to throw a whole bill away. I think I'm trying to represent my constituents who sent me here and said, hey, we got problems, fix them. Didn't say, hey, we got problems. Should have fixed a portion over here that you're allowed to. That can come from my constituents. They come from most of the people, or I shouldn't say, I'm not going to speak for everyone else. But there's clearly a reason we didn't vote yesterday. I'm not representing by proxy. I represent my constituents. When there's an issue, I vote yes or no on it. Sometimes it's a roll call and people come at you and they say, why'd you vote that way? I'm happy to be on the record on every vote I make. You know what? Having the ability to be on record is pretty important. When you're stripped of that, when you're stripped by not your constituents, not yourself, by a group of people who meet in meetings that you're not allowed to be in, pretty disheartening. It really feels like democracy loses. So.
Representative Lamont.
I have a question. So is the next committee that this goes into, are they gonna look at the section of work that we did? Or are they gonna only focus on their section of the work?
My understanding is that they're focusing on their sections.
And so that committee cannot take out anything that we put in, only appropriations can do that, is that accurate?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so why do we not just do the portions that we are working on and then have it an omnibus? Why do we vote on things that we didn't go through? And I only say this because if there was a simple definition, because including but not limited to is in statute and including is in shorthand, how many other words that are in statute that I don't understand that are in the beginning of this bill that make no sense to me, that I can't comprehend? I did read through the bill, but I'm just saying, if the simple including, and accessibility was not comprehensible to me because it's a shorthand for a statute, and we only did the second half, I don't know how many other things that I don't understand in the first half. And so for me to vote on something that we didn't walk through, that portion of it, why would we not only vote on the portion that we did? So I guess I'm just echoing that question because that would make sense to me because we did good work on our portion. But to blindly say, okay, yes, we're gonna vote on this thing that has nothing to do with what we did in here, that's not our thing, then it shouldn't be included in what we're doing, if that's not our thing. I just that part just doesn't make sense to me. And it feels really, really, not just painful, but I don't really know the adjective I would like to describe the feeling of wanting to do something really great for the people of your state and not being able to even understand because you didn't go through the other part of what you're putting forth. And so that part is really hard for me. I don't, it's just not jiving. I feel like if I'm gonna vote on something, I would like to at least have a general comprehension and understanding of what that is, if it's something in its entirety. I'm happy to vote on the second half, because that's what we went through. I just, this whole first half and not understanding and saying, okay, well, we're voting on it, we're saying yes, we support this, but we don't even know what this is. And that doesn't feel good, to me. Especially considering the amount of work that we did and for the programs that we did hear testimony on that were really good and that are gonna benefit people. And as a person who's experienced homelessness, chronic homelessness, a renter, and person who serves in the community, the people who we're trying to help in here, to falsely vote on something and not know where it's gonna go in the other half puts me in a really gross position, and I don't like that. So I just wanted to name that because I just like to understand what I'm doing. When I'm confused, I don't understand things, my brain can't process. I like to make things make sense, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Representative Sessom.
I'm looking for another example, but the way I'm kind of surprised, this is taking me by surprise, because the way I've approached this all along is we do our work on our section and then we vote affirmatively, and my affirmative vote is for our good work. And I think we are doing great work for our constituents. And then there's a piece of this that's going to go over to another committee, and I hope they're going to do great work on it. And I don't see my vote as related to the first half of the bill at all. I mean, it's not written down anywhere. It's a perception of it, but I'm viewing this as my vote on our work, which I'm proud of, and then the rest of it we're sending over there for them to do their work on. And that does happen. I mean, anytime a bill visits multiple committees, that's what you do. We could be doing a Bill of Rights, and there's a piece that needs judiciary to approve it because that's their bailiwick. And so we vote on the work we've done and then send it to them, and they do their work and vote on it. And it's not a perfect process, especially with an omnibus bill.
But with an omnibus bill, you wouldn't with an omnibus jobs bill, for example, you're not going to go through the whole jobs bill and not vote on, or you're not going to vote on based on every section of the jobs bill, because you're really just voting on the housing section of the jobs bill. Otherwise, we would need 15 months every year to be thorough, and we would lose a lot of bills, and because people would not vote in favor of any bill, or people would vote in favor of fewer bills because they might not like something else that's in the bill that doesn't pertain to, like if we had a jobs bill and there was something in there about teachers that the education committee had stuck in, somebody might not, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I guess for me, it's just, I guess that's where that's just my lack of security in our system and the job that we're being asked to do. Because I approach everything from a holistic place. And so I look at this as a system of care. And so my job is as a system of care, right? Everything is a system of care. When you find a new care provider, they don't just look at you and give you medication. They say, okay, let me see your medical records and have them forwarded over. They have to look at your past treatment and history, and then they send you to a specialist. They don't send you to the specialist and not be in communication with that specialist.
Hopefully.
They are right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. And so I thought as an elected official that I was here to serve people in a way that was going to do things, and I didn't realize how splintered it was. So I guess this is the job, is what I'm being told. This is what it is, and this is how it's been done. And that was unbeknownst to me. It makes sense now that our country and our nation and our state and our systems are the way they are, and that so many people are underserved and continue to be underserved. And it all makes sense now. And I have a very clear vision of how we got there and why we're still here. And these are the reasons why. But that is the system in which we operate, and it is what it is. And I accept that because I'm now a part of that system. And so in that is a hard pill to swallow. It is what it is. But I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. I can accept it for what it is. And I get that that's the job and that's how it's been done. Now I know.
Do you want to finish? Did you have a finishing?
No, it's a response to what, sorry.
That's,
Go ahead.
Using the system of care analogy, where I go with that is if say I have a car accident, and I have multiple injuries and I have somebody setting my leg, but that's not a pulmonologist. Pulmonologist is going to look at my punctured lung and treat me for that. And so it's every provider is not going to look at, review, and analyze every aspect of my injuries. They're going to work on perception, and they will hopefully communicate. But it's, not every provider does everything. There are specialists, and
They should. You
we're
can have a
set up
blood
to be-
clot that travels up to your lung and kills you. I'm just saying.
Been-
That's why we do those things. That's the problem. But I hear you. This is what it is. It's the job. It heard. Loud and clear message received. Heard.
Representative James.
I feel so sad, actually, that this conversation has escalated like this. I was struggling to find maybe a better example if paid family leave wasn't a good one. To have it seem, as I said, sort of less nefarious and more like different teams all trying to work together to put together a good final product. And so I was thinking all right, could we talk about maybe the budget? Where, we all looked at different parts of the governor's recommend. We didn't all look at the whole, governor's recommend or take testimony on the whole governor's recommend. We looked at the parts of the recommended state budget that had to do with our committee jurisdiction. And we sent recommendations along for our stuff to APROPS. Commerce worked on a whole workforce bill that didn't come through our committee. That got folded into the budget. Little bits of policy pieces from all of the different committees were developed and thoughtfully considered in the committees of jurisdiction. And then in the ultimate example of an omnibus, if there were ever an omnibus bill, the budget came to the floor with vast sections of it that we hadn't touched or looked at or taken testimony on, but that other committees had. And we all, well, not everybody, but a lot of folks voted for that budget. And that's an example of I think, how the process can work. And bills come to the floor every single day that I vote on and vote to support, even though I didn't touch that bill, didn't come through my committee. And I work on bills all the time and try to influence them as they go through the committee process. So I've been spent a lot of time today talking to members of the Rural Caucus and to Rep. Bartley and to folks who really care about the other parts of this bill. And my response has been not at all to shut down that conversation or say, well, that's over now. Now it goes from our concrete silo to another concrete silo, but just to say, yeah. So now that conversation moves to another committee, put your name on an amendment, bring that amendment to the committee, start talking to those committee members. The conversation just moves down the hall. It doesn't end. And I hear you, Rep. Lamont. I really do. This system has drawbacks, but it also has a lot of upsides and benefits. And I just hope that folks who are feeling like they're going to vote no on the housing bill are doing it because they don't support what's in our part of the bill. Not as a protest vote because, they felt like the process was startling to them or something. So I don't know. I mean, folks will vote how they're going to vote, but that's a tough one because you're voting no against a lot of good work.
Representative Bartley, then Krasno.
I don't think there is anybody at this table, and I do not mean to speak for anybody, who is against any of the good work that we've done. I've stated that I really like the work that we've done on our portion of the bill. But and using the budget as an example, those are all smaller parts. This is half of a bill that we have not touched. And the recommendations that we made, unless I'm misremembering, I don't believe that we had an official vote on those recommendations. So it's really hard to put my name in support of a full bill that half of it I haven't been involved in. And to hear the word process be used over and over again is incredibly infuriating to me, because my understanding of rules and process is that when a vote is called and seconded, it's taken. And that didn't happen yesterday for reasons unknown to me. I respect the process, I really do. However, I don't accept it is what it is, because we're in the housing crisis that we are in because of, well, it's always been done that way. These concrete silos have been put in place. We need to be creative. And once again, I will go on record. The work we have done is good work. I'm uncomfortable putting my name next to half of a bill that I may or may not support. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right. And I truly hope that the narrative isn't that, oh, there may or may not be individuals on this committee who vote against a whole bill because they don't support the work that we've done. We've come here every day. We've shown up. We've done the hard work. I do not support that narrative because it's wrong. I think we all believe in this bill. My frustration is that we did not have the capability, or we were told we do not have the capability to discuss it in full. And that's not right.
Representative Krasno.
I don't really have a lot to add, except for the fact that I just want everyone to know that I appreciate everyone's perspective, and regardless of whether things are right or wrong, or how we feel, we're all elected as individuals, and it's really important. And I appreciate when people say where they're coming from. I think we're gonna have to make difficult decisions, and it's gonna be hard, and I think that we are going to have to do that. And I appreciate the discussion. I will be supporting the bill, and I think that I'm not done with this discussion as was discussed, but I'm gonna be supporting the bill and moving it forward. And I'm not asking for anyone to join me. That's not why I'm speaking. I'm not trying to convince anyone of any opinion. I think it's just time that we make that decision, because I think that's what we have to do at this point.
Any further comments? Representative O'Connor?
I remember 15 years ago, we had an omnibus bill, that was a labor bill. And we're going through the same process as we are now. And one of the piece of it was car check. But needless to say, the bill did not get passed. Here we are 15 years later, we got a bill up there, car check. We want to wait, well, it's in PRO Act, but it's up there, it's car check. We want to prolong this and, and wait another year or 2 or 3 or whatever the case may be. I mean, we got the funding for it right now. Is this something that we want to, hold back for another year and not get this through and see what happens on the other end? I don't know. But I'm not willing to take that chance. I kind of look at it like the glass is half full, not all the way empty. And if you're dying of thirst, the glass is half full is a lot better than having an empty glass. So that's why I'm supporting the bill.
Yes?
Just a question. Is there any precedent, or could we vote on half the bill?
Yes.
So I don't think there's any precedent for, it's a bill here.
Very good.
On the floor, there's always the question, and I don't know the answer. Is it divisible? Not suggesting that. But there are other places other points, and including in the Environment Committee to continue to work on it, that won't stall this or negatively impact this portion or the good work we've done here.
Representative Howard?
I think I respect everyone's opinion. And I don't know how much more I could add to what's been said already. But for me personally, I have worked on housing and paid family leave for 4 terms. Nothing is perfect. I feel we should vote on this bill. I will be supporting it and move it along to the next committee. And if there's any questions or any amendments or anything you want to add, anyone, you have the opportunity to check in with these other committees that this bill needs to go through. I'm, I mean, there are processes and procedures, and they're not always perfect either. But this is the procedure that we have. And so I thank everyone for your opinions, I really do. But I think I'm ready to vote on this bill.
Representative Wong.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, just to reiterate and be clear, like I said, I have no problem on policy, procedure and all those things. However, this is called a housing omnibus bill, and it's not mostly housing. It is mostly zoning bill with some housing aspects sprinkled in. And we are the General and Housing Committee. When we did the budget, we worked on the housing portion of the budget. It was the budget. We didn't do anything, things that were clearly delineated. And so what I'm saying is, call things for what they are, say what they are, be transparent. That's what I don't like, being manipulated. I don't like being deceived. I don't like deceiving people. And I don't want to deceive anyone, and I want to be clear and transparent. And I am voting for it, unfortunately, because I have to, because I am that person with lived experience, and I do serve those communities. And I don't want to do anything that undermines the work of the people. And I'm saying it with great disdain, because I have great disdain for the process. As someone who's also been held hostage and had to do things to please my captor, this feels very similar to that, and I don't like that feeling at all. So I will be voting yes to meet the needs of the people who need housing, and also stating that if we're gonna call something, a name, a title, a bill, something, we should probably make sure that majority of the focus is on that thing, or split the bill, or do something different, change your process. Like, I mean, I'm not the only person in here who has issues with the process, and even though I'm a new person, other people who have been here longer than me feel similarly, so that doesn't really say much, but I don't, like, it is what it is, let's vote on it, whatever, I'm over it. It feels gross, don't like it, it is what it is, let's do the thing so we can go home, because it's been a long day, I'm ready to go.
Do you want to take a break?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we need to hear a motion. Before we hear a motion, I'll have a discussion before the motion. Thank you for all of your commentaries, and I'm sorry if elements of this process, elements of this have felt harmful or hurtful. I don't have more to say in terms of what the process is. I've been very clear since the beginning how this bill was going to be worked on and how it was going to be split, and I don't necessarily agree with it either as an individual, but as a part of the larger body and what the needs of the body are, what the needs of the caucus are, what the needs of our constituents are. To use, medical doctors were brought up a little while ago. I have a hematologist who's not going to comment on my pulmonology issues. Just, I have a podiatrist who's not going to comment on my heart issues. It's not the same at all, is it? It's not the same. But the issues here are that this was a land use bill with housing. And again, I won't apologize for the work we've done. I agree, we did good work on what we were able to work on. And I would just hope that you can apply the passion that you have for the pieces of the bill that we weren't able to work on when this bill goes to the next committee. You have the right to do that, and I hope you take that up. But I do appreciate the conversation. Take the criticism in the spirit that it's meant, and we'll move on with the vote. Yes, sir.
Just a question for my own education, because I'm a newbie too. Looking at the math, May 12th. That's a, yes, agreed upon number set by not governor. Speaker of the House. But it would seem to me that the individual committees have self-imposed dates. Is that the case?
The date in order to, right now, May 12th is the expected. Actually, May 10th, the speaker is shooting for May 10th. And May 12th is Saturday. We don't always finish on a Saturday. That marks the 18th week. Friday, I'm sorry. That marks the 18th, at the end of the 18th week of what the legislature is budgeted for. We can go over, we have gone over.
And what I'm getting at is that we've waited a long time to work on this bill, and we've done some real good work on this bill. Why can't we approach this next Tuesday? In the meantime, have some witnesses come in, address the first half.
Again,
There's other committees that are, other committees waiting on us. I understand that.
what we call the calendar math, working backwards from the expected date of, I was about to say graduation, of adjournment. Where the bill has to go, the time frame that it has to go over, day, it needs to spend a day in between committees. It needs to spend a day before it goes to the floor. It needs to spend a day before it goes to the Senate again. So people are working in both the House and Senate, they're working backwards. And the request to get this, the bulk of this bill, the ownership of this bill to the next committee, we were asked to get this out, and then not really asked, we were told that this was the date that we needed to get this out in order to have a chance at adjourning on May 12th. So that's what I've been working with. We also have material, housing material, that I fully expect us to do good work in the next week or so, that we may be able to add to this bill or add it to another bill or what have you. That is important to this committee as this was important to the Senate. That's why this date was chosen. And I'll just leave it at that. So I would entertain a motion to approve version 1.1 of S100. I move that.
Second.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, hearing none, the clerk may commence to call the roll.
Representative, excuse me, Chestnut Tangerman,
Yes.
Representative Burrows,
Yes.
Representative Parsons,
No,
Representative James,
Yes.
Representative Lamont.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Representative Elder,
No.
Representative Labor,
no,
Representative Krasnow,
Yes.
Representative LaBounty,
Yes.
Representative Bartlett,
I'm sorry, it's Bartley.
I'm sorry, Bartley.
No.
Nicer. Representative Howard votes yes. Representative Stevens,
Yes. Everybody, we can go offline.